Hey, welcome back. We're going to be doing some fun stuff today. Today we're going to be tackling this big mess of wiring. Now we're not going to be making it perfectly clean, but what we're going to be doing is we need to work on this fuse box area, work on getting it all smoothed up. So I'm going to take it off, try to move around some of these so that way we have room to get to the blow-off valve, some of the power steering, as well as just making it cleaner, because right now it's not wanting to sit all the way down with the blow-off valve now sitting a little bit in the way. And then also we want to start tackling this ECU wiring. We want to work on getting it through the speedometer cable hole, which, where did that stinker go? Which is this cable right here, though I may drill another slot over on down there. Goal is that we can get it up and mounted on the underside of the dash. So on the underside of right under there. So that way all the wires are out of the engine bay, or the ends are, and then I'm going to start working on cleaning up the wiring itself so that way it's not as much of a mess. We probably will leave the ECU in here once we're done, even if we get it all cleaned up, as in done for now, because I still have a bit more wiring to work on, and it's a lot easier to work on it when it's right here versus in the engine bay or under the dash. But we do want to have it so when it is finished that it is under the dash and out of the engine bay. So that's what we're tackling today. There are a lot of extra wires left the old 7M. The body harness that we're not using anymore that went to like charcoal canister, not a canister, but some other like EGR systems, and the the old TEM system for the suspension. Anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and start tackling some of the wiring and cleaning it up by starting with taking out the battery and then taking off the grounds and this area, a fuse box, just loosen everything up, try to get some more space. Hey, welcome back. Alright, so I've gotten a lot of the wiring all sorted out, or I mean just mostly cleaned up. What I did is I just bunched up a bunch of these wires in here, as well as cleared out some space down below. This is all securely mounted right there, that fuse box. It's solid, got the other stuff pinned down below. That stuff's going to be out of the way. This is solidly mounted there. So that's a lot more cleaned up than it was before. And then for this back mess here, it's actually empty. There's nothing really there. I just have those wires sitting there. I did take the ECU off. Before you guys are concerned, yes, there's no battery. So we're good there. But where I'm looking to put the ECU or put the wiring through is this loom kind of bends back in the place that I'm thinking is gonna fit. There's a hose right in the way. Here's the throttle cable, about 1 inch to that far side, so to the left of the screen on the firewall. I think I'm going to drill a hole in there. So a lot of people will use the speedometer cable, but that's just a little too far, and I can't really see the hole from underneath the dash inside the car, and I could see that throttle cable and where it's coming from. I could see it when I look under. I'm seeing just a flat piece of the firewall, like, hey, if I just drilled a hole there, it'd come right in. So I'm gonna go ahead and start drilling the hole from the inside, and then hopefully we'll be able to move it. I do need to move a couple things around because it'll be coming out right where this is. So I'll just move that, probably take off this heater core hose, shuffle a couple things around, and hopefully we'll be able to push this through into the engine bay. So I'm gonna go ahead and set you guys up looking in there, and hopefully you'll be able to see some of the holes come out. Alright, I know it's kind of hard to see, but we got that hole drilled out. I'm hoping it's wide enough measuring wise. It's thick enough for this to all fit in. So I'm hoping that means we're good, but then again, we'll kind of see once it all comes together. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and try to just run these wires through, or at least get some of them through. I'm also not sure if I'll be able to, because as you may have noticed, some of these are wrapped around and under the dash here, so they come around there, and I'm gonna have to snip them all and reattach them. Not gonna be a huge deal. Wish I didn't have to do it, but you know, it's just part of the process. I'll be glad to have it done. Anyway, yep, I'm gonna go ahead and try to see if I can fit these through that hole that we drilled out there. Doesn't look like it's gonna be able to fit. The plugs are the big issue I completely forgot about. So I think it can still fit this wire for how thick it is there, but like plugs that are as wide as these, they're not gonna fit in. I hadn't even thought about that, so I'm just gonna go ahead and mess around with it some more, see if I can open it up and get that to work. So after a lot of hacking and just going at it, we now have a hole into the engine bay. It's an absolute mess, but it'll get the job done. I will put protective layering around it. I've got this one off the old harness that I'm gonna use to just make the hole safer for the wires, seal it up. Next thing we're going to do though is we're going to need to cut these 4 wires that are all going in. So one's to the fuel pump. You get out of there, you freaking retard. No one likes you. I hate the cat. But we're gonna go ahead and cut those wires. This one's a crank wire. It doesn't specifically matter because we're just gonna label them for which one goes to which, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we're just gonna cut them and match them up once we push these through, push this end through the firewall. So I'm gonna go ahead and set you guys up for a little more time lapse, and we're just gonna continue on with that. So hope you guys enjoy it. Alright, so you may have seen me struggling a bit to get that in. It's just not quite working out as well with the hole. So I went down to Ace Hardware, and some of you may have been wondering why I didn't use these bits. I got some of these metal drill bits. That one was a bit big, but I decided to get 2 just in case. But I'm gonna be using these to drill a hole out. The reason I didn't start with them again was I didn't have them, and I didn't want to spend the money if I didn't have to. But it's just too cramped. The hole's not wide enough. I'm not able to drill it out smoothly, and it's starting to like yank some of the wires out. So what I'm going to do is I need to pull this whole harness out, and then I need to make sure all the wires, because some wires come unplugged, I need to plug the wires back in. I need to get the battery out of the glunt, of course, to try and start this. Once it starts, then I'll put that battery back. I will unplug everything here, and then once again run it through the system, or after drilling out the hole, run it through and see how it works. So I'm not gonna bore you guys with the whole wiring, we're checking to see if the wires work. So I'm just gonna go ahead and skip ahead to the drilling part right now. That may also mean that I'm really low and have 7 minutes of battery left, so I kinda need to charge the camera. Just maybe. Alright, so I didn't end up showing you guys the drilling because the drill bit didn't end up working. I just couldn't get a right angle and get it flat enough, so it kept just bouncing off to the side. But we did end up getting the wires all cleaned up and into the bay. Some of the red wires sticking out that you see. One goes to the, or you can't really see, but one of them, this one right here, goes to the starter. This one is going to power. This one I forgot to put through. Anyway, I'll show those through, and then we have to wire it up with all these wires that are in here. What I'm planning to do, I think they're long enough that I'm gonna run it up through the running board here to the side and then up into there. So I'm gonna try to get you guys some angles so that way you can see what I'm working on, because I know I've been skipping a lot lately and I wanna get you guys in on the action. So I'm gonna try to get something in there if I could find a little tripod. But next step up is we're gonna get that one wire in, and then gonna go ahead and try wiring up the other wires, plugging them in, and then hopefully being able to try starting it. So I've got most of the wires all wired up now. I think I'm good to go. Oh no, there isn't. There's one, I knew I had to say something. There's one ground wire, or not the ground wire, but the crank wire. It's just black, so I thought it was ground. But it's this one right here. It came off of one of the places that I'd wired it under the ignition. So I need to figure out where that's supposed to go and rewire it. So I'm probably just gonna take off this back part. You can take off this little gray part right here. This part comes off on its own. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that off, see if I can get that wired back up, and then I'll check it back in with you guys. All right, I got that little key fob thing off, and we got really lucky. So this is the wire right here that's supposed to connect. The reason why we're so lucky is we could just strip back the wire here and make a connection. I was afraid that we're gonna have to go through and test each connection to find which one was the power and crank again, but we don't have to do that, so that's a big win. Yeah, I'm hoping that once we get this on, I'm gonna run a power wire to the mass airflow sensor, get that in here, and then I wanna try putting everything back, getting it all cleaned up so it's out of the way. Partially for looks, and then also partially because I think that's it. I think we can start putting it back from there. So that's the step for that. I'm gonna crimp that up, and then I'm not sure. I think I'm just gonna crimp it up, wire the mass airflow sensor really quickly. I'll show you when it's done. It's just gonna be a little awkward to try to film because I have to go from the outside to the inside to underneath here. So I'm just gonna wire that up, and then I'll show you guys what's up. All right, so I got the ECU all hooked up. Put the battery in from the glunt. It's not completely tidied up, but the wires are, I'll move this one out of the way, but the wires are mostly in. I did throw on the old mass airflow sensor. This isn't the correct one, but the plug still works, so I'm gonna see if maybe that does anything. Throttle's not hooked up. I may hook that up really quickly And then we're just gonna go ahead and see if it starts. Just make sure that it runs, because some of the wires did get yanked around. And I wanna make sure that it's running all correctly before I start putting interior panels in. So that's the next thing we're gonna do, just grab the key and see if it turns on. Alright, so that works. Another huge plus, the reason that you heard me rev it there was had the mass airflow sensor plugged in. I just wanted to see if it did anything, and yes, it did. So now I'm able to rev all the way up. Big plus there. That's a huge win. So now, you know the drill. Time to go play basketball for a while and wait for the smoke to clear out. Next up on the list of big things to tackle is putting the interior back together. Oh, dang it. Oh, man. I should have bought a 1-inch socket on my way out today so that way I could thread the shift knob. Dang it. That's mad. Man, I need to figure out how to thread. What the heck? Oh, that was a cat. To thread that shift knob on, because it's just loose spinning. But man, dang it. I was going to grab one on the way out or on the way today, but I forgot. So anyway, this is the next big project to tackle, just cleaning the interior up. Obviously there's wires everywhere. Most of the panels aren't on. That needs to go in there. Another cover goes on. A lot of these panels are for it as well. This one, this one, this one. I don't think this one. I think this is the driver's side or the passenger side, but then this one as well. So a lot needs to go back on. Once again, I'm just gonna set you guys up on time lapse. I really hope you guys enjoy the time lapse videos. I do. Those are probably my favorite things to watch in editing. But I'm gonna set you guys up, looking at the interior. Hopefully I'll have decent lighting. And we're just gonna start butting together, starting by tucking the wires, putting the dash back on, and yeah, you'll just see it as it happens. So enjoy, guys. Alright, interior's done. So I know they didn't quite get to see it all to the vacuumed up point. That's all I had left to do. I just vacuumed that all up afterwards. All cleaned up there, had the steering column back on, had the trim on the side here. If you open it up, all you see is a couple wires just peeking through ever so slightly, no big deal. This just kind of came up flush here, so I didn't want to have to pinch the wires through the plastic. I can pinch it through the carpet, no big heckin' deal. Runs along there. You see one sticking out there, just kind of lost it. It's not a big deal. I'm just gonna leave it as is. That runs up there. I'm just playing with this latch because the trunk wasn't, or the hood, as you see I got it on, wasn't latching right, and so I didn't want to put it in just yet. Still working on that, no big deal. This bottom casing is up. This is all up. This is all up. This center console's in. Here's our little dash light doohickey. Sorry, I'm trying to hold the light and point at the same time. Steering wheel's in. This center part is in. That part's not done yet because the heater core relay, I believe, is down in that area, so I'm still leaving time to get to it. And if we make our way over to the engine bay really quickly, it needs to be completely cleaned up, but fuse box looking much better, and this whole area doesn't have any junk in it as well. So I may hit this with another coat of paint, but we'll see what happens before then. So next up is getting brackets for that, finding a way to tuck these plugs away, redoing the wiring through there, putting the fans in there, and that's all coming in the yes, it is next episode because I'm put another video out before this. But next episode, we have got some really good stuff. I really got to show you guys a sneak peek. Woo! Fighter jet switches, baby. These things are going to be legit. Yeah, look at those. And that's all coming in the next episode. So, don't forget to do the usual. Ooh, one last thing really quickly. Focus up. We have exhaust parts. That's not going to be coming for a little bit though, because I still need to get the actual piping itself, and then I need to mock it up, not tack it up, but get it all lined up and then bring it over to a friend so he can weld it. Anyway, that's that. Thank you so much for watching. Usual, subscribe, dislike, unsubscribe, dislike, hit the comments, guys. Bye.